we are going to speak to you about the transition of the planetary consciousness, of the transition of the world. Therefore, viewers, it is the consciousness of planet Earth that is going to transit with all that lives on it and in it. When there is this type of transition, all takes place on a much higher dimension, which makes it such that you could consider the stars that you perceive in your solar system as having no life. On these stars, you can of course still find the mineral kingdom, but it does not have the same life when there is a transfer into another dimension, and the same is true for the other kingdoms. What can a dimension represent? You must understand what a dimension really is. A dimension corresponds to a vibratory frequency and to a level of consciousness. The transition of this vibratory frequency and of this level of consciousness, whether it is individually, collectively, or concerning the consciousness of planet Earth, takes place conjointly, so that there is a great elevation and a transition towards another life, another way of conceiving, of loving and of feeling. You really are in the transition to another dimension. We have already spoken to you about the fourth, fifth and sixth dimension. We are going to say that this belonged to before. Now, we would prefer to speak of the level of consciousness and of the level of vibration, because to speak about the fourth, fifth, or sixth dimension would no longer be adapted to the new world to which you are going to go. In your universe, there are not only these dimensions. This cannot be calculated and is not conceived of in the same way. There are infinite vibratory levels and consciences. For example, your scientists say that life isn't possible on Venus and Mars, that life isn't possible on all the planets of your solar system, Jupiter, Saturn and the others. These planets, as you see them and as they are perceived by the human technology of the third dimension, your dimension of existence and your consciousness that corresponds to the third dimension, can appear to be totally sterile, too hot or too cold. Therefore, for you, in these conditions, life cannot exist. However, life does exist on these planets. On certain planets that appear to be dead, like Mars or the Moon, there is still life on the inside. What life? A life that has been brought there by beings of the third dimension, but these planets lie well beyond the third dimension because they have transited. You, men of the Earth, can go on to the Moon. It is accessible to you. You can create a civilization under a bubble because there is no atmosphere. Therefore, you can create a reality on the stars like that, but a reality, we repeat, that corresponds to what you are, to your technology, to your knowledge, and essentially to your vibratory frequency and to your level of consciousness. Therefore, life exists on other planes of existence. Your Mother Earth lives in the third dimension, but her consciousness lives in another dimension. It is as if her shell still found itself in the third dimension. We employ this term to make it easier for you to understand. The consciousness of Mother Earth is already living in other realities, other creations of herself in some dimensions and in vibratory frequencies that are totally different. Imagine that there was more than one Earth. There is the Earth that you live on, but there are other Earths that follow one another corresponding to their elevation. You, human beings, you also possess multi-dimensionalities. Likewise, all that lives exists on several levels of consciousness, on several vibratory levels. To help you understand better the reality, we will say that, as with all the planets of your solar system, your planet Earth has multi-dimensionalities. It is the same for your father Sun. You see him, but he has other realities of life, other vibratory frequencies more and more elevated, as the planetary consciousness of your Mother Earth lives on some planes that are more and more elevated and has a consciousness that is larger and larger. Therefore, it is more logical to speak to you of the multiple levels of consciousness, of multiple vibratory frequencies, rather than limit you to the third, fourth, fifth or sixth dimension. What has been taught you and what you have learned up until now, maybe a few months ago, will no longer be, in a little while, adequate for your new life. There are periods where you must experience certain events with a certain consciousness and with a certain vibratory frequency. When these periods are over, when you have experimented all that you had to experiment in this dimension, on this level of consciousness and on this vibratory frequency, whether it is individually or collectively, all will change, and you will evolve. It is as if you had before you several avenues, and depending on your evolution you continually change your path of life, not necessarily of reality. Right now, you are really at the crossroads and several paths are being offered to you. We know that human beings of planet Earth, with the help that they have and will still have, will take the right path. The Earth has strayed too much. Human beings have strayed too much for hundreds, thousands, even hundreds of billions of years. The earth has experimented. It has experimented suffering through the beings who have lived on it. It has experimented beauty. It has experimented joy at the level of consciousness and at the vibratory level that was its own at diverse periods. Now, the planet Earth and all that lives on it and in it must experiment something else, and you, human beings, must also experiment something else. You have come to this very special period to experiment, but do so in the best way. You are here today, you have been here maybe 200 or 300 years ago. Each time, you experiment difficult things. So, if all seems almost lost to you in your civilization that is walking on its head, it is just because a door is opening towards the light. We are not going to speak about a golden age. What does a golden age mean? We are going to speak about the light instead, of an immense reality that will unite beings, of the new consciousness, of love and of fraternity. It is towards this, children of the earth, that you are racing towards. You must certainly not have doubts about your future. Obviously, before coming to this new earth, you will still have some obstacles to overcome. You will discover some stones, some thorns on the path of terrestrial life. The inferior realities still must dissolve themselves. More and more, you will hear about conflicts or terrorist attacks. They correspond to an obscure end of cycle, to the end of what some may call Kali Yuga. This is an era where more and more what is obscure will disappear, when enough human beings will have attained a certain level of consciousness, when love will be in the heart of many more human beings. The vibration emanating from these human beings will facilitate the shifting towards this paradise for you humans. We can really speak of the paradise. What must you do to accelerate the process? We have been telling you for a very long time now that you all have a mission, that of anchoring love and light in matter, but also to anchor love and light in you. The mission of each of you is also to have confidence in your future, but also in the future of the earth and in all that lives in her and on her. You must also offer as much as possible this love that will grow in you and that will also change the vibratory frequency of the planet Earth and of all that surrounds you. You have a considerable power of love, and you ignore it. You love humanly. You love in an effective, sentimental way, but, beyond all of that, is found an immense love that is sometimes still asleep in you. This love is a vibratory frequency. Let us admit that all is musical notes, that all is mathematic. It is necessary to assemble the good notes and it is necessary to compose a mathematical balance. Every one of you can get in tune with these musical notes, these sounds, that generate an important vibration. You can express these sounds of love, in what you conceive of as love beyond sentimental love. You may not yet understand what love beyond sentimental love means. Those who are beginning to understand this love have the impression that they do not love or that they do not know how to love, that it is a neutral love, a love that, perhaps, upsets them. Little by little, they will understand that this love can accomplish miracles within them and all around them. Sentimental love corresponds totally to the life of the third dimension. The sentimental love that you know in matter does however have an immense importance because it allows you to exceed to vibratory love. You have come into matter to know all the aspects of sentimental love, of human love. You are going towards an inevitable future and we are emphasizing inevitable. Love will transform itself. Now, you must go a little further and know a love that may seem without sentiment to you, without emotion, but that has much more power and action than sentimental love that is restrained and limiting. We are not speaking about the gift of the self. We are not speaking of compassionate love. Compassionate love and unconditional love prepare you to go beyond sentimental love. We, your brothers of light, commit ourselves to open the path for you as long as each one of you desires to go on the journey that we will show you. We, your brothers of light, commit ourselves to have you go through experiences that will make you grow, and sometimes suffer, so that you can acquire discernment and greater emotional stability. We, your brothers of light, commit ourselves to make you become aware that you belong to the universe and to guide you toward the immense joy where we will see all of us united. We, your brothers of light, commit ourselves to protect you along this path, as a mother protects her child, to give you all the necessary energy and love that will allow you to move forward. We will not hold you but will guide your steps. We will not take you by the hand but will give you the necessary strength so that you can join us. We, your brothers of light, commit ourselves to give all you need as you progressively understand, so that you can progress better and faster toward the light.